most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Welcome to the Racehour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. I'm Rory Jiwani, and thanks for joining us for our Christmas preview podcast. This is a look at the big races over the festive period, all of which are still at the ante-post stage as I speak. We've got better than the three wise men. We've got one wise woman and two wise men, broadcasters Tanya, Stevenson and Ed Quigley, and Bet365 guru Pat Cooney. Only one place to start, really. Boxing Day, the big race at Kempton, the Grade 1 King George VI chase over 3 miles. 9 set to line up with the 1-2 from last month's John Durkan at Punchestown, Gaelic Warrior and Fact to File, vying for favouritism along with Nicky Henderson's Arkle winner Django Bay, who tries 3 miles for the first time. The Jukebox Man is next best at around 6-1 for Ben Pauling. And you can get double figures about last year's winners Banbridge for Joseph O'Brien and runner-up Ile Francais, who's now trained by Tom George, and Harry Cobden takes the ride. Irish Raiders have won 3 of the last 4 editions, with Willie Mullins' Tornado Flyer ending a 16-year drought for Ireland. Looks a red-hot renewal. My first thought was Banbridge looks a big prize. I saw Ed shaking his head when I mentioned Banbridge at double figures. Probably needed his seasonal reappearance. We'll come to Ed in a bit. We'll start with Pat. Tell us where the money's been going ahead of the Boxing Day showpiece.
Well, ever since Fact to File was confirmed to go to Kempton, he has been the red hot order for the race, and I think, I think he's on pace to just about be favourite for the race. Of course, we're looking at the John Durkan, and it was over a shorter trip, and perhaps Fact to File is better over this 3 miles than Gaelic Warrior, but it's been a real vibrant market, even when before Fact to File was confirmed for the race, the likes of Django Bay proved very popular from that Ascot run. Gaelic Warrior, it seems, was always coming here. So it's a real intriguing market, and hopefully we'll get 8 or more line up for the race. And that includes a good each way angle, and Banbridge is going to be popular each way. Ile Francais might be popular each way as well, as might Jello. But it's a real deep betting race, this one. And I would say it's probably one of the best King Georges we've had for a long, long time. And, you could make a plausible case out for certainly the front 4. So I keep changing my mind on the race. At the moment, I'm with the Jukebox Man. I was chatting to Ben Jones, and when he won one of our sponsored races at Doncaster, he said, yeah, it's all systems go. My only worry with the horse, he's just had the 3 runs over fences, but, he jumps very well. I'm sure he's had plenty of practice. I did ask Ben Jones, how does the race unravel for you with Gaelic Warrior going on? The Jukebox Man likes to go forward. Same with Jello. Ile Francais likes to go forward. He said, well, if nothing wants to go on, I'll make it. So they've got stamina in abundance. Remember, he nearly won an Albert Bartlett. So I think the hopes are very high with the horse. My only worry is I just wish he'd had more than 3 runs over fences. But I think he's a degree of value at the moment. But hard to draw a line certainly through any of the front 4 for me.
Yeah, as Pat says, looks a cracking renewal. Tanya, who do you fancy for this one?
At this stage, we're all a little bit worried about Willie Mullins' strike rate at this stage, but it is kind of a statement with him putting in Gaelic Warrior and Fact or File. Also, the fact that JP's not won this, and I think he's perhaps determined to go for it, but he hasn't had that many runners. He hadn't had many runners coming into last year when he had Spillane's Tower and Corbett's Cross in the race. And Fact to File, I think, no offence to those two, is a little level up for that. So looking at it in a mercenary sort of way, I'd be happy to take Willie Mullins coupled against the rest, which rather than sort of throw out there a price, it'll be odds on those 2 coupled. I'm happy to take them too. I feel that Gaelic Warrior will, as you say, go out there. Fact or File, there would in that Jordan Durkan, it was a 2-runner race. It developed between those 2, and Kempton, Fact or File, I sense potentially I think Mark Walsh will be on board. Little Terrier Django Bay, that's going to be interesting conveyance. And as Pat's talked about, the Jukebox Man, who's got great form at Kempton already anyway, even though he's comes in here not having had many chase races, but he's seen great. I'm just think that John Durkan form tells you all you need to know, because we'll reflect onto that a little bit more when we go. Perhaps we'll talk about some Christmas action at Leopardstown. But yes, Willie Mullins coupled in the King George for me, fact or file Gaelic Warrior against the rest.
Right. So very positive about the two market leaders coming across from Ireland. Ed, what takes your fancy here?
Yeah, good question, isn't it? I think the team have summed up very well. There's a lot to unpack here. We say it every year in kind of, Cheltenham Festival, a big boxing event. This is going to be the best race, the best event ever. I actually think this probably is one of the best King Georges I can remember for donkey's years. I mean, you have got the defending champion being thrown at double-figure prices, Ile Francais. I mean, who knows who's going to turn up, but he's got a first and second next to his name at Kempton over course and distance, and he's 20-1 or something. I mean, this is a deep race. Pat summed it up. You can make a cogent case for pretty much all the field. The Irish horses, I agree with Tanya, they have the best form. Official figures will tell you that. They are superior. My only negative about them is the thing you cannot quantify, and that is I thought they had a really hard race in the John Durkan. They were going at each other, first time out for the season, hammer and tongs from a long way out. And it's just in the back of my mind, could that just have left a little bit of petrol out of the tank coming into this? A bit like after we had that Energumene and Altior slog, didn't we, a few years ago? Was it Surname had a big slog round Ascot Woods, and it just took them a couple of runs to recover back to their best. That's my only potential negative, would be, are they slightly jaded from what was a brutal John Durkan? I mean, it was a brilliant race, wasn't it? So I'm lukewarm in the sense of I think there are 5 or 6 who could win this. I think if you push me, I think Fat Defile's the horse with the most innate ability. I think if it all clicks for him, he will win it. But I think at the prices, the fresher angle, and with Pat here, I think the Jukebox Man, he is lightly raced. He is light on experience, but you wouldn't be able to tell that by the way he jumps. He jumps like a horse who's had plenty of experience over fences. There's very rarely, I'll probably put the mockers on it now, haven't I, Rory? But there's very rarely any novice errors. I mean, watching his comeback run at Haydock, I mean, connections are over the moon with that, thinking he would have needed the run and the experience. And obviously he flew round here over course of distance to win the Corto Star, the Feltham last year. So often is the way in these races, isn't there? One or two of the protagonists will kind of bomb out for an unforeseen circumstance. It very rarely ever plays out that we get 5 in a line jumping the last, does it? So I think the Jukebox Man each way is pretty solid here. I think his tick in the box is the fact we don't know the ceiling of his ability yet. He's thoroughly unexposed, whereas the others have probably had the opportunity to show what the ceiling of their ability is. But I think, Django Bay, I think will get 3 miles. Can't rule out Banbridge. I think this is brilliant stuff. Absolutely chuffed. Looking forward to it. But Jukebox Man, the tentative each way at the prices.
Yeah, and for the each way bet, let's hope we get 8 taking to the start line, because that would make it a very interesting betting heat as well as a great contest. That's the King George. We move on to Saturday at Leopardstown. The 112 is the Paddy's Reward Club Chase. This was the Dialer Bet Chase back in the day. At Grade 2 over 2 miles and 1 furlong. Actually became a Grade 1 in 2004. Solness took victory last year for Joseph O'Brien. He's double figures for a repeat, with 2023 winner Dino Blue 4-1 for Willie Mullins. Ahead of her in the betting, 6-4 favourite Marine Nationale making his seasonal debut, and 11-4 shot Majborough, whose jumping left a bit to be desired when he was beaten by Founder 50 in the Hilly Way earlier this month. Gordon Elliott's charge also lines up, as do champion chase heroes Energumen and Captain Guinness, currently 11 in the lineup. Ed, let's start with you here. There've got to be some question marks over the 2 market leaders. Marine Nationale seasonal appearance, Majborough, his jumping was pretty ropey at Cork, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally agree with all those statements. And of course, we had, as you've alluded to, Rory, absolute carnage in this race 12 months ago. Solness went off 28-1. Didn't see which way he went, and some horses who had better form and loftier reputations coming into it went west. Dino Blue's well beaten, Captain Guinness well seen off, Gaelic Warrior turned over as your hot favourite. So, this was a race last year which went a bit zany, didn't it, really? And yeah, Mashborough's going to have to jump a lot better. I get the feeling this is a little bit of a D-Day for Mashborough, but there's so much talk in the Mullins camp about whether he needs to go up in trip. By going a yard slower, it might just take the pressure off his jumping, because to an extent, if you went up to 2.5, 3 miles, you can probably get away with 1 or 2 little errors. You've got a bit more time to recover. But, you know, when you're talking about champion chasers, you know, I'll go back to remember Zurchop leaving his legs in the water jumping a champion chase. You make 1 error at this kind of level, you're done. You got no time to recover. And he did jump. He's just all arms and legs, isn't he? He's a bit like a vending machine at times. For all that, he's got unbelievable ability. And yeah, there's got to be question marks about all of them. Yeah, I mean, Marine Nationale was due to come back in the Fort Trier. They've bided their time with him. Look, Barry Connell always talks up his horses. Marine Nationale, of course, was beaten in this last year again, but came right in the spring. So there's an interesting dynamic here. I think a lot of horses they've just got March in their eye line, and it's a case of just building them up for that. And so I think there might be more of a here and now horse. And I thought Only by Night, Gavin Cromwell's mare, is very interesting, getting a mare's allowance. Her form from her novice days ties in pretty kindly, doesn't it, with the protagonists here? I mean, she separated Django Bay and Mashborough in the Arkle. I mean, she was ahead of Mashborough in the Arkle. And Django Bay, of course, we'll see in the King George. She was leading the Arkle 50 yards to go. Django Bay, of course, came from a different postcode to win it. Load of Sud was behind her in that race as well. That form doesn't look too bad either. And something else to kind of note is Gavin Cromwell. He's in much better form now. But from the 1st of November to the start of December, he was something absolutely ridiculous, like 3 from 108. His strike rate, the yard was so cold. It was way off it. And yet she was one of the horses in that time frame who did actually manage to win for the yard. On a comeback run beating Champ Kylie. So I think you could probably upgrade that run, given the yard weren't clicking at the time. And I said it's a race where I just think you're right. There are question marks about some of the protagonists. And in the case of Marine Nationale, I don't think Connections are that upset if he jumps around in 3rd again. It's all about March the 11th for him, as it kind of was last year when he really blossomed in the spring. And 6-4 instinctively feels a bit skiddy on him for his comeback run. So, yeah, I'm going to Only by Night. I think she's an underrated mare, and I don't think she's actually a gazillion for the champion chase itself, given that, as I've mentioned, her form ties in with all the horses who are floating around at the anti-post, head of the anti-post market for the Queen Mother champion chase itself.
Yeah, a little bit of a left field pick from Ed there, although Only Night is 5-1 at present. Tanya, what do you think of this one? Looks a decent race, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks a belter, as do all the races at Leopardstown and Limerick over the Christmas period. But obviously we're honing in on one of the best ones with this Grade 1, an absolute cracker. We can't wait to see Marine Nationale again, and here we are. His prowess has gone through the roof as he kicked on from the festival and then kicked on again latterly after Punchestown. I can't believe only 3 favourites have won this in the last 10 years, and it does really hone in on the youngsters this race. So we've had, I think it's the ages of 7, 7, 6, 6. So it really does help the youngsters. And you look at Marlborough, and despite all the bad jumping, he's had only 5 races over the chase fences, and still managed to win 3 of them. Or for all his little errors and niggly errors. I thought he ran a belter against Founder 50, and you have to sensationalise something. And the fact that obviously he clambers over the fences, he needs ladders at times, and he'll get over them somehow, which he does. And looking at the makeup of this race and how Ed's flagged up the fact that Marine Nationale may come into this, and I totally agree with him, may come into this thinking that, oh, well, March, this will be helpful, but it is currently a different class horse. I'm going to stick with the sticky jumper, ladders and all, in Marlborough, because I thought he ran brilliant behind Founder 50. I know that they will meet again, so I'm going to stick with Marlborough, and I wouldn't ignore Solness if it does turn up. 3 from 4 at the track. That's all you need, and knows how to kid these along and just zoom off again. But no, Marlborough, I think, needs a faster pace. And when you're in those intimate fields, it accentuates the possibility of making those really niggly errors. And the faster they go, the more fluency it can have. But then when you're trying to think about various things, so I'm going to stick with the youngster in the contest, despite the errors, and I'm going to go with Malsborough.
So a vote for Malsborough from Tanya. Pat, have we seen any significant money on this one? And who do you like?
It's been a relatively quiet betting race, really, to be perfectly honest. And coming at it from the bookmaker side of the fence, I looked at Marine Nationale and Marlborough. I thought, I don't know, yes, bookmakers, we could be greedy here and get them both beat for various reasons. Marlborough because he can't jump and maybe wants further, and Marine Nationale, the spring version is definitely better than the winter version. But the rest do have a bit to find. And I keep coming back to Marine Nationale. And I'm reading in today's Racing Post, Connections took him up to the Curragh to work, and he worked with the flat horses, and he worked extremely well, apparently. And his trainer, Barry Connell, he seems a bit of a perfectionist, this fella. He used to go through his stable jockeys willy-nilly. So I would imagine because it's a Grade 1 Marine National, he'll be pretty straight for the race. And I just keep coming back to him. And I'm disappointed, really, because I had set off thinking we'll get them both beat the front two. But I'd rather be against Malsborough. He's going to make one mistake, surely, along the way, and that might make the difference. I like her Only by Night, but on official ratings, she has a bit to do. But, she's a very talented mare. I just think if Marine Nationality is near the spring version, that might just be good enough. But 6-4 is not the bargain of the century, is it?
Certainly isn't. Just quickly before we move on, Energumen and Captain Guinness both passed their best. Can't land a blow in this one. Quickly, Ed's nodding his head.
Yeah, no, done for. I mean, Captain Guinness again comes alive in the spring. Energumen, I'm not entirely sure they'll run. I think there's talk of him. He might go up to 3 miles. I think I've read somewhere Willie Mullins is saying as a kind of a ceremonial lap before they retire him, I think. But yeah, look, Malsborough, you should say one thing it's a salient point, was conceding weight to Founder 50 on the comeback, and obviously there's a level playing field in that sense here. So, and Founder 50 had race fitness on side. So yeah, Tanya's starting to talk me into Malsborough. But yeah, it's a fascinating race. It's high class and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think with Malsborough, you sort of touched on it. It is a bit of a D-Day, isn't it? Because if it doesn't go right here, maybe they would look at going up in distance. I mean, the comparisons with a vending machine, Ed, reminds me of Joss's Hill back in the day.
Joss's Hill. Well, I was actually going to say, he reminds me of Malsborough a little bit. There's a horse called Big Zeb who won a champion chase. And I spoke to Barry Geraghty about him, and he said sometimes he would jump like Sprinter Sacra. And then other times he just would jump like a vending machine. He said he would just put down on him and go through one. And of course, he hit the deck a few times. And he said he was an absolute roller coaster ride. And it's similar with Malsborough here. You don't quite know where you're going to get at each fed. Sometimes he runs down them. Sometimes he really stands off. There's no doubt his engine is absolute, top notch. It's just you're going to be watching behind the sofa like this, aren't you? With after half a bottle of port, if you backed him. I think that's the kind of way I'd look at it. But yeah, classy horse, and it's a classy race.
Yeah, Big Zev, of course, 3-time winner of this race. Yeah. So that could be a good omen with that comparison. We're moving on over to Chepstow for the Coral Welsh Grand National at 250. It's over 3 miles and 6.5 furlongs. Maximum field of 20. And we had 42 at the 5-day deck stage. So plenty are going to be balloted out. Val Dancer won it last year in the fog for Mel Rowley. Nassalam absolutely bolted up the year before for Gary Moore. He's back for another go. Haiti Kalur lines up for Rebecca Curtis after his Betfair Chase flop, while Sarah Bradstock's Mr. Van Gogh bids to return to winning ways after being just denied a 4-timer by Twig in the Beecher earlier this month. They're among the market leaders despite carrying hefty weights. But the 6-1 favourite is last year's runner-up Jubilee Express. Now he's number 30 on the list, so he might not even get in. Sam Thomas's charge made all in the Welsh National Trial earlier this month. Tanya, a bit of a question mark over the favourite, but what do you think of this one?
I've reduced it to 3 runners rather than prattle on. You generally have to be a youngster. You generally have to be about 8 or younger, or at a push 9. Not really go for outsiders. If you look over past runnings, you have to be in the first 2 or 3 in the market. And also it suits, obviously, a race like this. You get into a rhythm, you get towards the front, and you stay there. And one of my 3 was O'Connell. Now, obviously, he was booked, and everyone, he was the greatest secret not at Sandown last time. He's just great, isn't he? He's great to watch, O'Connell, and he'll try and get into the race, but whether they'll get into some fluency of jumping and he might not get there like in the Ida, that might be an issue. Another one of my 3 was Rock My Way, who I think may have been missed when he won at Ascot because eyes were averted somewhere else on that day. And he decimated his field at Ascot. He's got some good runs, namely when he was second to 80 Color at Cheltenham, because you generally don't remember the second in those type of races. You think, it's all about Haiti Color, and you don't remember the seconds. Rock My Way had a second in that, and then he followed it up with a really solid, great run in the Scottish National itself when he finished 5th. So he comes in here, Rock My Way, with a great kind of portfolio for the Welsh National, in the way that he was to the fore most of the way at Ascot and just treated them with contempt. And then I thought, well, John Joe O'Neill and AJ O'Neill, they did very sensible. They pressed the pause button on the stable. And as we saw on Saturday, as we saw and a few days after, the stable now is benefiting for that pause button. And the horse that ran really well just before the pause button was pressed was Collector's Item, who is a great stayer, I think, a stayer in the making. It's great as well when you come into the Welsh National with the Chepstow form itself. And in a race, he finished second to who is the favourite at the moment, Jubilee Express. He wasn't, I don't think, given enough plaudits for his win in the Somerset National, where he beat Katat Dory, who was in flying form. He beat King Turgeon, who was in flying form. He beat Credo, who then subsequently came out and ran really well. I know there could be question marks on his subsequent run. I don't know what happened to him at Newcastle in the Ida Chase, but then subsequent to that, they ran him again. And he didn't run too badly in Pat's Bet365 Gold Cup. I thought he ran a fair enough race in that at a massive price, because he had to be massive because you couldn't explain whatever happened to him at Newcastle. He is still green when it comes to chasing, but he comes here with stamina, and that run behind Jubilee Express, you can't ignore him. He might be revitalised. So with my 3, Rock My Way, O'Connell, and a Collector's Item, instinct is telling me that it could be one for the John Joe and AJ O'Neill, and maybe John Joe Jr. will be riding him. So I'm going to go for Collector's Item in the Welsh National.
I was muted there. Beg your pardon. Ed, what's your view on the Welsh Grand National?
Yeah, incredibly wide open, as you say. Tanya makes a good case there. Obviously, O'Connell did this show a good favour a couple of weeks ago. Is the team's team, but only slight reservation with him is all his best form has come on right-handed tracks. So it's a little bit of an unknown Chepstow, but yeah, look, the horse will stay all day. He's lovely, isn't he? He's a great. I've got 2 versus the field at this stage. I thought Dan Skelton's representative, Deafening Silence, who's 21 on the list, is going to get in here. Just a horse who doesn't do anything in a hurry, but he's going to be down the bottom of the weights. It's not going to be unusual if the Skeltons plunder another big prize over the Christmas period. And his kind of last run at Newcastle summed it up in the rehearsal chase. Outpaced on good to soft ground, only really seemed to be hitting top gear inside the final kind of 100 yards. I think this horse wants a proper marathon. Remember, he won the Winter Novices at Sandown once in almost unraceable ground. So I think Connections will be doing a proper rain dance. I see it's officially soft on the chase track at the moment. Obviously, we're a good few days away yet, but more the rain, the merrier for him. He'll be down the bottom of the weights. The other one is Jamie Snowden, of course, another yard who are absolutely flying. And Jit Maker, who's towards the top of the market here. This is the horse who's been targeted at this for quite some time. Speaking to Jamie back at the end of the summer, this has been the long-term aim, if you like. He had a spin over hurdles to protect his mark at Lingfield recently, which would have been no more than a ring rust removal job. Got some very good form in proper staying stamina events, hasn't he? He's third in the Scottish National on soft ground. Of course, he chased home, I Know the Way You're Thinking, in the Kim Muir last year, and that form hasn't worked out too badly, has it? And funny enough, he's only £1 higher than when he finished runner-up to the subsequent Gold Cup winner. So he's also got winning Chepstow form. He loves soft ground. He's going to be, again, off a nice racing weight. The final thing we should just touch upon, though, will be if I see Haiti, Cologne and Intense Raffles aren't cast iron runners here, listening to the connections. I mean, Rebecca Curtis, after the Haydock flop, was very much, we'll head to Chepstow. No, I saw the interview yesterday. It was, we'll probably head to Chepstow, but if he didn't make it for whatever reason, we'd look at the Cotswold Chase. And I'm like, well, his own race is only 5 days away. He's either running or he's not. I'm just wondering if connections looking at Haiti Claw and thinking, do we really want to lump around 12 stone in an absolute bog? And I wonder if they're just getting cold feet at the last minute, because it could just leave Haiti Claw's season totally behind if he has a ruler here, in which case the weight's all going to shunt up, etc. But so we're 5 versus the field, me and Tanya. No doubt Pat can throw in another half dozen and we still won't have the winner. But yeah, to make a deafening silence, I'm going Dutch.
Yeah, Pat, who's the money horse here? I was saying Jubilee Express, 30 on the list, so might not necessarily get a run, but has he been well backed ahead of this?
Yeah, he was ever since he won at Chepstow, albeit that was over the 3 miles, of course. This is 3 miles 6, but you have no stamina issues because he was second in this a year ago, off the same handicap mark, would you believe, of 126. So you can make a plausible case out for him. The betting public do latch on to these Sam Thomas trained horses in a big way, so he's going to have his supporters. You normally think this is a wide open betting, but as Tanya touched on, there's been some real gambles landed in this race. Nated River won this as a 6-year-old, and we all thought, oh, he won't carry top weight over 4 miles and win that. But he won in good style. There's been some single-figure price winners of this race, so it's not a bookie's bonanza by any means. I do like the one Tanya suggested, Collector's Item, for all the same reasons. Team O'Neill, they were all coming to their first run on the racecourse, needing the run. And I felt he kept at it ever so well against Jubilee Express. And, he's nearly 2.5 times the price. So I make a case out for him. For his sins, he does belt the odd 1 or 2 along the way round, which is entirely possible over 23 fences here. Again, I agree with Edred. You could make a plausible case for saying Jitmaker is the best handicapped horse in the race as well. So he's very much in the equation. As for Mr. Vango, he's going to be hugely popular with those connections. But he did have a hard time of it at Aintree last time out. And as good and as brave as he is, maybe that race has left his mark. I don't know. I just keep coming back to Collector's Item. I wish he jumped better. If you can guarantee me an error-free round, I'll happily take the 14-1.
So that's 2 votes for Collector's Item in a wide open Welsh Grand National. We go back to Leopardstown on Saturday. The 3 o'clock is the listed Paddy Power handicap chase over 3 miles and half a furlong. Percival Legalois won it last year for Gavin Cromwell in the colours of JP McManus. Big field handicap chase. Could be almost 30 runners in this one. Look out for extra places from Bet365 each way and in the position payout. And you'll be wanting them, as this might be the most competitive race of the season. 10-1 the field, for goodness sake. Pat, we need some help here. Any clues from yourself or the punters?
Well, I think the punters they've copped on really in recent years with these races, and they tend to wait for the day with the extra places. But 2 that we have laid at fancy prices are We've All Been Caught of Eric McNamara, who was second in the Munster National at Limerick. So that's similar type of race and similar level of form required for this. He was 20-1 a couple of weeks ago. He's now 10-1. Very much one to consider. Ex-Nigel Twiston Davis train. I think he was quite impressive in his early races for him. And he's had 2 runs for the current connections and he's run well both times. And another one that we've laid is Midnight Hour Fred, who was second in this race a year ago, and that was a perfectly decent run. But you've got Willie Mullins bingo to play. All options are open here. But if you're latching onto horses that we've laid anti-post, we've all been caught. Certainly the most interesting. Midnight Alfred, again, having been second in this a year ago, you can imagine he's been mapped out for this one. But I'm sure you have a host of Willie Mullins horses to consider as well. But and that being said, again, it's you have horses in single figure prices do win this race, and there's quite a few gambles landed in this. So all action will be on the day, but currently 10 the field, and I wouldn't imagine it would be much less on the day. Really, it's got a wide open feel to it.
Yeah, bit of a lottery. Ed, anything you like here?
No strong view, but there's a horse who's been in my tracker for since the Battle of Agincourt, and that is a horse in here called Sandor Clegane of Paul Nolan's, who it's fair to say again he doesn't jump well. That's the truth of the matter. But the flip side of that is he's running off 136 here, and this is for a horse who's placed in the Grade 1 Albert Bartlett, who has got loads of Grade 1 hurdle form, wasn't actually beaten all that far by Factor File when finishing 4th in the Brown Advisory a couple of seasons back, which, funny enough, was one of his better rounds of jumping. He's just started to look crazily well handicapped on peak hurling efforts off 136. I think it is officially his career low chase mark. You just get the feeling one day, by kind of law of averages, he will throw in a good round of jumping. Now, at 28-1 or whatever he is, I'd be prepared to take my chance if he's getting in here towards the bottom of the weights. Horse with a lot of raw ability. It's just not always clicked for him in the jumping department. I'm actually slightly surprised they haven't kind of gone maybe like the per temps final route again or something like that and looked for that type of angle. But I'll be waiting, keeping my eyes powder dry until the decks. But if Sandor Clegane lines up here at a big price off the career low mark, I'll have the tuppence each way on and chance it.
Tanya, any ideas in this? Looks just ridiculously open, doesn't it?
Oh, doesn't it? Doesn't it look great? I was playing Willie Mullins bingo because I think it's great to play in races like this. I thought that the maiden over the fences, O'Moore's Park, we might see a little bit of better performance by that. Not that it's run bad at all. It's finished behind Oscar's brother and then had to come and run in that electrically fast race at Newbury where it's 10th to Panic Attack. We might see a better run by that. We're all honing in now on Gavin Cromwell. Now his runners, if they're under 10-1 or so, they really are doing the strike rate that they ought to. He's got Will the Wise here, who ran well in the Troytown. But the one that I picked for the Willie Mullins bingo is Captain Cody, the top weight. Should he run? I sort of, when he turned up the other day and ran against Romeo Cooley, I was rubbing my eyes. I'm thinking, what are you doing over this trip? You come into this having won a Scottish Grand National. And, Romeo Cooley looks a monster, an absolute monster. And Captain Cody, Harry was aboard it again. He tried to be a little bit tactical, a little bit clever, come through on the inside of the track, saving a little bit of ground, riding Captain Cody really quietly. But by doing so, he kind of lost a few lengths. He got himself held up and he only got beat 9 lengths in the end by an absolute, obviously, Romeo Cooley could have gone to win by further. But a class horse in a race that is competitive is surely got to be pitched in there. And he is an each-way price as well. But so I'm going with the Scottish Grand National winner, Captain Cody, who's got a little bit of pace about him.
So Tanya going for Captain Cody, the top weight, joint top weight with D Capo of the Paddy Power Chase. One race to go, and it's on Sunday. Saved possibly the best till last, although I think the best was probably the first, but this one's pretty good too. The Grade 1 Savills Chase at Leopardstown, over 3 miles, scheduled for 2:30. Obviously the big race of the Christmas period in Ireland, over 3 miles and half a furlong, I should say. 2 Cheltenham Gold Cup heroes are the 2-1 joint favourites. Reigning champion, I know the way you're thinking, and 2-time winner Galopin Des Champs, who's going for a hat-trick in this race. Fast or Slow is 9-2, and then you've got Champ Kylie at 12-1. Gaelic Warrior and Factor Filer are in the betting, but both, as we've discussed, almost certainly Kempton bound. Ed, who do you like in this one, the Savills?
A bit of a watcher brief for me, to be honest with you, Rory. I think, obviously, it would great to see Galopin Des Champs back. Whether he'll just come on for it or not, who knows? Funnily enough, in regards to I know the way you're thinking, there's a little bit of the Marine Nationale thinking with me. And again, it's all about what happens in March. If he jumps around in third here, I don't think there's going to be any sleep lost, put it that way. I think this will cut up into a small field, fast or slow. Obviously, a fair enough comeback run, which would have been there as a fitness prep. So I am a bit lukewarm on this. I just think it's going to be a great spectacle. And obviously, the roof will come off the stand if Galopan comes back here and crushes the field like he did in this 12 months ago. I mean, I know the way you're thinking, didn't see which way he went, to be honest with you. And if we could have a repeat of that again, then I know he's 9 rising 10, but it would really get the whet the appetite, wouldn't it, even more for the spring and another clash between those two. So yeah, very much a watch and brief for me. If you forced me, press gang me, I would tentatively go with Galopan de Champs, just given his peak form is superior, I think. I don't think he quite ran his race in the Gold Cup on ground. That probably went against him. But no strong view. I'm just going to sit back, relax and enjoy this. This should be an absolute belter.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned the ground at Leopardstown. I think I read they're going to be watering.
Yeah, the chase course is yielding, isn't it? And there's a few good places appearing there, we're saying. It is riding a lot softer on the hurdles track. But it could be good to soft in English terms. Or I don't think it's going to be an absolute swamp. So that is a good point, Rory.
Tanya, 3 Cheltenham Gold Triumphs between the 2 market leaders. Is it a 2-horse race? Do you prefer one of the 2?
Potentially, yes, it is. And as Ed said, when you look at the other runners in the race, you sense it is going to cut up. And Leopardstown is the home of Galopan. He's won 7 of his 8 races round there, and he's going for a third on the bounce here. So it's a tentative race, but I think the roof is going to come off with Galopan coming through to win. And we're all then thinking afterwards, I know the way you're thinking. He's going off to Cheltenham in March to defend his crown, having had a mighty race. So I hope it is going to be an exciting finish. I think we're going to see a massive run by fast or slow, but I'll go with Galopan. He's just Mr. Leopardstown, isn't he? He's just a class 1 legendary racehorse, but he certainly has already his statue at Leopardstown.
So, Pat, 2 votes for Galopan. Any market vibes in his favour? And who do you like for this one?
Well, the way the market's gone, I mean, we'll have fact or slow running for us as bookmakers, and he's not a bad one to be standing in our corner, but he looks held a little bit, doesn't he, if the top 2 run the races. I think whatever the ground is on the day is going to be very pivotal to what the punters latch on to. Galloping, when he was beaten in the Gold Cup, Willie Mullins felt the ground might have been on the quick side for him, and that was good to soft. And I know what you're thinking. He did beat him by 6 lengths that day. But as Tanya says, Galloping, he's won his last 7 here at Leopardstown. He is the king of Leopardstown. But they tend to be on softer ground. So the market is going, when I know the way you're thinking, just because I think the ground's drying out that bit more. But I'm going to go on overall CV, and I'll jump aboard Galloping de Champs. I'm sure he'll be cherry ripe for this grade 1. Shame he hasn't had a prep run, but we can't have everything. I just think on balance, his CV reads very well, but I think the punters might be going with the ground. And if that's the case, if it's the word good in the going description, I think I know the way you're thinking might just be favourite. But not often Galloping can be backed as a second favourite, but that may be the case here. But I'll go with him.
So the panel unanimously in favour of Galopan de Champs. That's it for the 5 big races over the festive period. Time to open it up, which is a bit dangerous given the sheer amount of racing over next week. Ed, let's start with you. Probably hard to give a selection outside the races we've already looked at. Obviously, anti-post stage and lots of horses double engaged. But what's your nap of the week?
My nap of the week. The nap is going to be only by night in the 2-miler, the Paddy's Rewards Chase. I just think there's enough doubts about the protagonists. And I think she's a very underrated mare whose form entitles her to be right up there. But yeah, very briefly, just to, as you say, try and sum up another 900 races. Just races definitely for your calendar. We've got the rematch between Dahupu and Ballyburn, which is obviously going to have a huge bearing again on the Stayers Hurdle market. We've got Final Demand running at Limerick, haven't we? Who just oozed class on his chase debut. But the race that we mustn't miss, I haven't got a tip in it per se, but it is the 105 at Aintree on St. Stephen's / Boxing Day, the Formby Grade 1 Novices Hurdle. We've got the Supreme Novice Hurdle favourite, My Daddy Paddy, unbeaten, running for the Skeltons. You've got the unbeaten hurdler, 6th in champion bumper, Idaho Sun, confirmed by Harry Fry to run. Got Active Innocence, who bolted up on his hurdling debut for Nicky Henderson. Same connections as Old Park Star. You've got Ben Pauling's confirmed Starmount is running, who hacked up on his hurdling debut. And then just for good measure, Gordon Elliott's 25-length maiden hurdle winner at Fairy House, Skylight Hustle. See, Gordon Elliott says it's likely the Rob Core representative comes over to run in it as well. In kind of boxing terms, someone's O's got to go, haven't they? You've got a load of unbeaten hurdlers, all who at this stage, if you listen to their trainer, they've already won the Supreme and can't lose. And here they are all meeting at Aintree on soft ground on Boxer Day. And what is going to be an absolute, that is outside the King George, I think that's an unbelievably good race. And so there are going to be some lofty reputations left in tatters on the back of that run. Yeah, do not miss that. 105 at Aintree on the 26th of December.
Sounds good. Thanks for that, Ed. Tanya, your best bet of the week. NFL's not allowed.
Yes.
And we haven't even mentioned the Christmas hurdle.
No.
Have we?
No, I'd like to see Tripoli Flyer run a cracker in that, but we don't know who's going. There'd be any price for Fergal. He's a very, very quick horse, but treats the hurdles with absolute contempt. But he's suited to Kempton, I'd certainly say. Other races to look out for, you'd love to see Jimmy DeSoy come to Kempton, wouldn't you? He's entered in the Quarto Star Novices Chase at 120. Wouldn't that be beautiful to see? It was so impressive with his jumping. But he's also entered in the 140 at Limerick, the Faheen Novice Chase. He's entered for that. So look out for Jimmy DeSoy. He's got a couple of entries. Mambo number 5. How good is the form working out behind anything that's finished behind Mambo number 5? They're all running well. Well, it could be a good day there for Ben Paulin. He's in the 250 at Aintree on Boxing Day. Mambo number 5. We'll see potentially. He's got no further entries. Here's a sneaky one from Charles Burns for you to keep an eye out. Shual Swift, Shuial Swift. 2 entries for her, both in mares maiden hurdles, the 12:17 at Limerick on the 27th of December, or the 2:52 at Limerick on the 29th. She's got no form whatsoever, but if you watch her races back, she certainly has got a little bit of pace about her. Shual Swift, got good form, but also another one that I really do like, Ed Corley's Come Walk With Me, who's only had 2 races over the fences, 5th to Final Demand, but back over hurdles. And look at the hurdle form. It was 2nd to Honesty Policy, this horse. It's entered twice at Leopardstown on the 27th and the 29th of December. Come Walk With Me. And my nap will be Captain Cody. Let's go with Captain Cody. See, he's in the most quietest, easiest race to pick a winner. But let's hope that Willie decides to run him in that contest carrying top weight. But I've given you a few left field ones, hopefully that will make an entry. But if not, look out for them in the future.
Great stuff, Tanya. Pat, have you got a Christmas cracker for us?
Yeah, I've an intriguing train of thought, really. I was looking to see where the Skeltons were on Boxing Day or Stephen's Day. And as they touched on, they're at Aintree. And I looked at the one that the Harry Skelton is jockeyed up in all 7 races for his brother Dan at Aintree on the Friday. And I looked at the first race. I thought, oh, yeah, Broomfield Adira, yeah, top weight. But yeah, that one, well, that would have a chance. Then I moved on to the second race and I thought, okay, Helton.
I don't know where this is going. Yeah.
Well, Helton, that's got a chance. And then I went on to the third race, My Daddy Paddy. You're thinking, yeah, well, why not? So there's 3. And then Supremely West. All right, you got to be a bit lenient with a couple of lines of form. But I was thinking, well, you couldn't rule that out. And then we went on to race 5. Snipe is jockeyed up, well handicapped, never wins. But I think, well, okay. Then he's Chuggy, he's won his last 3. And they got one in the bumper that won a point to point. And I was thinking, well, I don't know. They've got 7 real strong chances there. So there's 7 individual selections for you. And they would have targeted Aintree, I'm sure. So be careful with all them Harry Skelton multiples, I'm sure. But anyway, that was, by the way, that was my Aintree observation. My nap is that Weatherby in the Roland Merrick used to be a really good handicap, this. And it's Confusion. And it's trained by Joel Parkinson and Sue Smith. Joel Parkinson maybe just about the hottest trainer around at the moment. But he had a winner at Haydock on Saturday in the Tommy Whittle, and he was asked after the race, have you got any horses you really fancy over the Christmas period? And he says, oh yes, Confusion in the Roland Merrick, the 135 at Wetherby. Now, this is a horse, he's a course and distance winner. He won by 15 lengths last time out. Now, normally I'm a bit skeptical of horses that win by wide margins. Well, maybe A didn't run well, B didn't perform, C. But he won so easily. He only went up 10. I say only. So he's no gimme from a handicap point of view. But he's a young, progressive horse. He's probably, you can ignore the unseated rider. He was going well that day anyway. But he just looks the type of horse of 136. He won't be off 136 by the end of the year. So, notwithstanding a 7-timer for the Skeltons, I'm off to Wetherby for my nap with Confusion. Hope it's not confusion for everybody.
Thanks very much, Pat. Yes, Skeltons through the card at Aintree. We'll have a look at that one, I think, for Boxing Day. That's it for this week's Racehour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. My thanks to Tanya Stevenson, Ed Quigley and Pat Cooney. I'm Rory Jiwani. Thanks for your company. We'll be back in the new year with a new show, looking forward to the Cheltenham Festival. But yeah, so excited I can barely say it. The Cheltenham Festival. Yeah, March. Second week. For now, we wish you a Merry Christmas. Good luck with your bets and see you in 2026.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Corso Star into submission.